40inbox.com, and we're going to be checking out this article called Meet the Limb Lengthening Californian Surgeon Who Purposely Breaks Men's Legs So They Can Become 6 Feet and Sexier to Women. And he charges 130,000 euros, which is about $160,000, for the eye watering operation. Now, I found this to be very interesting because typically you hear a lot about like ladies getting like plastic surgery on their nose, on their boobs, on their butt, etc. But you don't really hear like some like crazy like surgery for guys that would potentially actually work in their favor. Now, this is kind of crazy when you really think about it because you're literally purposely breaking your legs so that you can become taller, so that potentially you could be viewed better by the opposite sex, which is kind of like interesting because I understand why some guys might try to resort to this because if they are getting like no luck at all forever and they try everything that they can and this is basically like their last resort that they feel to like be able to do something or be with someone, which is, a pretty sad route. Like, if you get to the point where you do this, you spend this type of money, which I bet you a lot of them don't have the money to do this, because if they did have the money to actually just pay for this outright, they would probably already be able to find at least one girl to be with them regardless of their height. I mean, just saying, because you could, at the very least, if you got money, at the very least, find a gold digger. Like, at the very least. So basically, these are probably people who are very short, who have probably no skills in terms of communication, no skills when it comes to maybe like a career or job or something that makes them actually good money. Because I bet you that they are probably going into debt to the tune of over $100,000 just so that they could get taller. Now, the thing is, the reality is that sometimes the height issue is a deal breaker for a lot of ladies, especially on like dating apps and all that kind of stuff. So is with his slicked back hair and carefully practiced smile, he might look like your ordinary Los Angeles surgeon. However, Dr. Shahab Boobian does not specialize in age-defying facelifts, boob jobs, or any other Hollywood loved op. Instead, he focuses solely on lengthening limbs, an eye-watering procedure which can make someone 6 inches taller. Yet, it can cost up to $170,000, so it's a little bit higher than what I was thinking. Now, potentially growing like 6 inches could actually be a really big deal. Now, the reason why I say that, like, let's say that you are 5'6", but you're able to get to 6 foot. You basically opened up your pool of potential partners to like a massive degree. Because for some reason, 6 foot is like a cutoff for so many ladies. It's just like a cutoff. Like they're not even interested. So I mean, there's people like 5'11" doing okay, but like there is a point where being too short can become a pretty big issue, which is kind of crazy because like I mean, it could be an issue even when you're only like 5'10" or 5'9" or 5'8". But I do recall watching a documentary about the breakdown of what makes a guy attractive to a lady. And it was interesting because basically the study described it and basically showed like, evidence by doing like these like little different tests among all of the contestants and whatnot. There's like a test of like over 100 people, guys and girls. But basically it was deemed that first, ladies will end up basically, judging purely based off of the physical appearance, right? It's like, oh, that guy's attractive. I'm going to rate him like a 10, right? But then when you start like adding like bios to that person, it's like, oh, okay, so this person that I originally ranked a 10 is only a janitor for his job. Well, that brings him down to like a 6. But this like super morbidly obese guy that I ranked as like a 2 makes like 500K a year being a lawyer. Oh, he's now ranked like a 7, right? Like it's crazy because like you gotta, like if you lack in one aspect of your life, you should try to bring in or bring up another aspect of your life to kind of like make yourself a little bit more like well-rounded in terms of like the perception, right? So like let's say that you're very short, maybe work on your income so that if you're making really good money, that also opens up basically your potential partners, right? Or the possibilities. Now that one's also kind of like weird too, because it's like, do you really want to be with someone only because you're making good money? I mean, that's kind of like a potentially bad situation in itself. So the operation involves purposely breaking both legs. Afterwards, magnetic rods are placed inside snapped femurs and tibias and then carefully stretched out over a few months using a remote controlled device. More men than ever are now undergoing the procedure in desperation of adding an extra few inches to their height, according to Dr. Mahboubian. Now, what I kind of wonder is like, say this works out fine, you get the 6 inches that you want for whatever reason, and my question is, what is the long term effects of breaking your legs so that you can become taller? Like, are you going to start having leg issues when you're like now 40 or when you're 50? Are you going to be basically crippled when you're a senior citizen? Or are you going to be crippled when you're like 40? Like, how long do these legs, these new set of legs basically last for, right? Because I mean, you're paying a lot of money for a few inches to basically appeal to other people, but not necessarily yourself. I mean, maybe some of the people here do it for themselves for like just to improve their ego or to improve like their self perception of themselves, like when they look at themselves in the mirror. Maybe that could help them out, but whew. So let's see. This person was 5'4", then became 5'7". Okay, so 3 inches for that person. So it cost 60,000 euros for the lengthening of your thigh, and at least 65,000 euros for your shin. But he says people will have the painful treatment because they believe they will look more attractive to women. Which again, they probably would be, right? Like the closer you probably get to the 6 foot, the chances of you potentially looking better to ladies is probably a lot better. So the 47-year-old claims to be performing twice as many surgeries at his clinic in Burbank, California, now compared to just 3 years ago. 80% of his clientele are men, too. Now, what I find interesting is like, why would a lady want to get taller to the point where they would be willing to spend hundreds of thousands of dollars or $100,000, etc.? Like, why would they want to do it? Because I'm pretty certain most guys don't really care about the height of the lady. I think they just like the fact that they are with a lady, especially with these guys who are like literally willing to break their legs just so that they could get attention from ladies. So, Dr. Mobin claims it is because men think becoming taller will make them more attractive to women. Blah blah blah. He owns the Height Lengthening Institute. Said being short can cause a huge psychological and mental impact on a person's life and can decrease their confidence. And those who undergo the surgery desire an increase in their self confidence, and they are sick of feeling inferior to others. It's almost like a Napoleon complex, I think. He added the psychological positive impact and boost in self esteem after getting taller is tremendous and truly beautiful to witness. But my question is this worth spending this type of money, right? And again, I don't think the majority of his patients are paying out of pocket for this just because of how much it actually is. I think they're going into debt for it, medical debt for it, that their insurance probably doesn't cover at all because this is purely cosmetic, right? So imagine that, okay, like basically, let's put it this way. How important is getting laid to you, right? Like, is getting laid like so important that you're willing to break your legs and pay over $100,000 for it? I don't know. That seems kind of like a steep price to pay in my eyes, right? Let's see. So, offering another potential reason to explain why the majority of his clients are men, Dr. Mabien said women can wear high heels to increase their height. That's very true. But what's also interesting, guys could also wear kind of like heels too. Like they're not really called heels. I think they're called like high tops or something. But it's basically like you could have like just normal pairs of shoes, or you could just wear boots, but they just add like an inch, inch and a half to your height. So like if you're typically wearing, let's just say for example, like Converse, right? There's like you got like this much on the bottom of your shoe, not giving you much height, right? Like this amount, right? But if you're wearing like a boot, that's like this much of height added to you, right? Without you having to break your legs for it. So, if you want to just feel a little bit taller or maybe feel just a little bit more confident when you're going on your day-to-day stuff, maybe instead of just wearing like Converse or like super flat shoes, you get like a boot. Like you start wearing boots or high tops or something with like some sort of cushion on the bottom because you'd be a little bit taller. Let's see. So the rise has been attributed to the Tinder generation's obsession with dating taller men, offering another potential reason to explain why the majority of his clients are men. Blah, 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 blah. Men are generally more attractive and successful when they are taller. Interesting. Surgery involves cutting the bone and inserting magnetic rods and pins inside the leg. For the next 3 to 4 months, the legs are lengthened by up to 1 millimeter or 0.04 inches every day with an external remote control. This helps new bone grow over the rods. And patients then undergo several months of physical therapy and have to walk with a mobility aid such as a walker or crutches. Lord. So Dr. Mobine's clinic offers femur or tibia lengthening individually, although it can still cost around $90,000. So for those seeking better results, it promises a combined procedure spread 3 to 4 weeks apart. The surgery has come a long way since it was first developed in the early 1950s as a means of treating injuries to soldiers by Soviet doctor Gavrila Elizarov. It used external round frames that were drilled into the bone, which could extend and straighten the legs. The process works in a similar way to the internal magnet technique, except the telescopic rods are outside the body and can be extended by turning the screws manually. Nonetheless, like any surgery, the new process is not without complications. joint dislocation, blood clots, and a fatal condition caused by oil coming out the rod ends up in the lungs. What are just some of the many potential risks? Not only are there a long list of issues, but the procedure and recovery is agonizing. One man was in so much pain he couldn't sleep. While some men believe it will make them more attractive, others do it in the hope to look like their childhood heroes. Okay, that's a little bit more interesting. That kind of like maybe makes a little bit more sense to me. Like, oh, you look up to like some like sort of like character, and you're like you want to just kind of like be like that. But I don't know. I mean, like to do all this to like literally break your body apart, put it back together, having to go through physical therapy, go into like over $100,000 into debt because again, I pretty much assume that they don't have the money, all so that you could just be attractive to females. I don't know. That just seems depressing, really. Now, apparently, this person grew 2 inches. Interesting. So he was what? About like 5'11", and then he became 6'1". So that's pretty interesting. Yeah, so 5'11" to 6'1", to be more like the basketball players he grew up with. While Alfonso is not one of the Dr. Mobian patients, the surgeon shares his equally successful results on social media. He has 170,000 followers on TikTok and Instagram combined, and pictures show men going from 5'4" to 5'7" after the procedure. The thing is, I mean, this doctor must be making like disgusting amounts of money from this procedure, right? Because there's probably so many men that go years and years and years without any attention from ladies who probably feel so desperate in their lives that they are willing to do something like this. And to me, that just like depresses me like crazy because like you guys are going to go into debt, destroying your financial life, destroying your health by going through this procedure just so that you could get the attention of a female, right? Like the problem is when I see stuff like this, whether it be like guys doing this for like this sort of thing or girls doing some sort of like plastic surgery sort of thing, is that when does it stop, right? Like when are you content with the body that you have? Because from what I've seen, typically, like the majority of the time, when someone gets these types of procedures that are cosmetic based, they are never fully satisfied. They always end up having to keep doing something, right? So some of these guys who are doing these like leg lengthening procedures, oh, maybe they'll think like, oh wait, is there something for like an implant for my sausage to make it bigger? Oh wait, should I inject like oil into my penis to make it bigger? Kind of thing. Like, when does it stop? Right? Like you're gonna keep on like damaging your body, going into crazy, crazy amounts of debt where you may not be able to pay any of that off eventually. And for what? Right? Like it might get to the point where, yeah, you might be able to get the attention of a female that you are attracted to, and that might be attracted to you. But let's say that you're so much in pain from this procedure, you don't feel like ever actually doing anything with them. Kind of defeats the purpose. Let's find out, oh, like, so let's say that you actually went into debt for all the procedures. Well, now the lady doesn't feel financially safe with you, being in a relationship with you, because you got over $100,000 in debt to your name. Like, who's going to feel safe being with someone with that type of debt? That is just like a purely cosmetic debt. Like, there's like a lot of issues by going down this path. You end up like acquiring. Like they start to keep on growing and growing and growing the issues, right? Like this doesn't really solve the problem of these individuals not getting ladies because there are short people who get ladies, right? Like there's short guys who get ladies. And for some reason they tend to get like pretty tall girls. I don't know why, but whew. So this person says there are 6 foot tall guys everywhere that women find unattractive, build wealth, and have a kind and confident personality, and you will never be lonely. 6 feet isn't a magical fix. This person says good point. Number one trait for dropping panties is wealth, followed by physical appearance and confidence. From what I've seen like people who just were disgusting, right? Like basically on the verge of like a melting Shrek. But they had so much confidence in how they were able to speak to someone that they were able to get like a girl's number, talk to them, date them, etc. Right? Just because of how strong their confidence actually was. So confidence is a pretty big thing. So no thoughts for arthritis, etc. in later life. I'm the tallest man in a wheelchair. Like, see, like this is my fear. Like, you go and do something like this, and then you're basically a cripple for the rest of your life. Like, who knows? Basically, it's just cosmetic surgery, making money off fools who believe women are only attracted to tall people. Does medical ethics have anything to say about unnecessary surgery? The thing is, I don't really think that the guys are fools. I just think that they probably feel so desperate that they might view this as like their only option. But also, you got to think about it like this, right? It's kind of like it's a video that I saw of a business guy called Alex Hermosi, and he kind of like put it this way, right? And it's about like the whole pricing model of like things. So let's put it into the perspective that he basically did, which was like fat loss, right? You could tell someone exactly what they need to do for free for losing weight, right? You eat less calories, you put in more work, etc., right? And there you go. Blueprint for free. There you go. You could lose weight, right? Or you could sell that exact same person a $50,000 liposuction to basically lose all of their fat like immediately, right? Without having to do any of that work. There's going to be people willing to pay that high ticket price because the result is more instantaneous without them having to put really like any effort. So the thing is, there are some of these guys that are probably going to get like that instant effort of becoming taller and also potentially getting the attention of some females that they didn't get before, which could basically get the result that they wanted in a sense. But they don't think about any of the side effects or anything like that. They're like thinking, oh, wait, if I pay this crazy high price, I'm going to get exactly what I want fast, right? Instead of basically working on their communication skills, maybe losing weight at the gym, like putting in hard work at the gym, maybe creating like a side business or like a side hustle or something, maybe increasing like my skills by getting like certifications. Like instead of doing all this other extra work to build themselves up, they're just going to take this quicker, easier option by going into debt potentially to get this surgery so that they could get the immediate result. Whether or not that immediate result is actually going to get what they were wanting, in their mind, it does. So it's pretty sad. Sounds painful. Yep. This could be great for obese people. Lengthen all their limbs to stretch out the fat bits. Jesus. Yeah, I don't think that's really going to work. And also, I really don't think that their legs would be able to handle the weight because their legs would have been broken. So that's kind of an issue. Which, side note, for some reason I binge watch like my 600-pound life clips or whatever on YouTube. I have no idea how on earth these 600-pound life people are paying for their food, like at all. Like, I don't understand how they are making enough money or bringing enough money from somewhere to pay for all of their food. Because we're talking like 8,000 calories a day, 10,000 calories a day, etc., etc., etc. That's pretty expensive, pretty much no matter what food item you get. Like, it adds up pretty quick. Feel free to give your thoughts. Stay tuned for more financial commentary, news commentary. If you want to learn how to get out of debt, go to 40inbox.com. Stay tuned for more. And feel free to give your thoughts because to me, these are basically guys trying to find a quick solution for a perceived problem that they have, but this isn't really going to solve the major problem of them not being able to get attention from girls. Like, because even if you were to like get some sort of looks your way, if you're not able to close, what's the point? Like, it doesn't really make sense.